Hey, it's John Nemo. I'm exasperated. Nothing better than hitting record on a podcast when you're completely emotional and completely upset. But it's also the passion behind this rant to start the podcast is about understanding the right way to generate leads on LinkedIn. There is definitely a right way to generate leads on LinkedIn and a wrong way. And what just happened to me is a great example of the wrong way. And this actually happened related to a LinkedIn message. So I just sent out a email to people on my email list with a great LinkedIn tip about one-on-one messaging and all these great insights, and then linked to a longer blog post to kind of, again, adding value. Hey, here's how you can use LinkedIn messaging to, qualify leads, etc. This person writes back, and it's a very well-known national kind of consultant and business coach, like famous, right? I didn't even know they were on my list. And I went and looked at their website. I'm like, okay, it's really that person. And wow, look at this. They've been on all these national TV things and they have these best-selling books. And what shocked me, and I'm not going to name the person because the lesson is more important than shaming somebody for their marketing tactics. And again, this might be what works for this person. It strikes me in such a bad fashion. So basically the person, and this is the second time this has happened with this person, when I didn't really know they were even on my email list, but at some point they had probably opted in for my book and, were on getting my emails with tips and things like that. So they respond to this email that I sent out about LinkedIn messaging with tips and say, they basically copied in their assistant because they're that big of a person. They have an assistant. Said, hey, send John these materials, and John, let me know if you want to sign up for our group or one-on-one coaching programs, like paid programs. So again, they're responding to an email that I send out and basically like reverse pitching me, like totally ignoring what I wrote. And it's so interesting because this is the second time this has happened. The first time with this particular coach, again, and this was when I initially learned they were even on my email list, they responded to a similar message where I was sharing LinkedIn tips or whatever, copied in a different assistant and said, hey, set up a call for John and yourself and me. And that was like basically all it said. And I'm thinking, wow, cool. Like I looked up this big coach and they want to be a lead. And it turned out after I did a little more investigating, no, they wanted to sell me into one of their programs. So it's like, so basically the criteria that this particular person has is anyone with a pulse is a lead, basically, right? And I'm just going to, I'm not even going to fake sincerity, fake context, fake conversation, fake qualifying, fake authenticity. I'm just going to go straight for a sales pitch, right? And obviously, I'm assuming that this must work for this person. Otherwise, why would they do it? Why would you do a behavior like that if it doesn't work? Now, the good news for you and me is we don't have to sell that way. This was something I struggled with a ton when I first went out on my own. So back in 2012, I'd always worked corporate jobs. Like I was a journalist, and then I worked in public relations and social media for trade associations. So I'd never been out on my own. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't have any formal training. But obviously, when I launched Nemo Media Group, as you probably know the story, if you followed along at all or read my book, LinkedIn Riches, I had one client, enough money for 30 days. So I better learn how to sell, right? I had my 3 boys at home, my wife at home. And beyond those 30 days, I didn't have any revenue or clients. And so I very early on started studying and trying to learn from all the experts, all the gurus about things like sales, marketing, copywriting, email messaging. And it was interesting because I just assumed, and maybe you felt this way too, well, if these quote unquote experts are saying it has to be done this way, then I have to do it too, even if it feels sleazy, spammy, uncomfortable. So early on, and hopefully all this marketing has been erased from memory for me online, but I did a lot of that. I did a lot of the hype-filled hyperbole, how to make $1 million in 2 seconds, with LinkedIn, whatever, because that's what I thought I had to do. And with sales calls and sales strategies and sales frameworks, that was what a lot of the gurus taught was, be aggressive, be like the movies, right? Do all these things that frankly just didn't feel good and didn't feel comfortable. And what I finally realized through a lot of trial and error was you have this ability, you have this idea, this concept where basically, yes, you have to make sales, you have to generate leads, you have to, market, but you get to decide how to do it. And I think that's one of the big things that drives me crazy today. Now, knowing what I know now, right? More than a decade into running my own business, scaling it to 7 figures, personally doing over $10 million in sales for our agency, training lots of clients on how to do 5 and 6 figure sales, is I found a way that works for me to sell. And what's interesting is, you and I can get so easily offended, right? And listen to me ranting on a podcast, right? As soon as you bruise someone's ego, as soon as they feel put upon or whatever, the door is shut. So for example, with this coach, with this consultant, and I asked a few people, like, do you know this person? They're like, yeah, that person's, their stuff is solid. They're well known. They work with all these big companies. And I was like, yeah, but they're selling me this way. And they're like, yeah, that's weird. And it's like, but that closed the door. I would never, ever want to work with that coach, that consultant, simply because of how I was approached, how it made me feel. And that's the key thing, is understanding, the right way and the wrong way to sell on LinkedIn or through messaging, etc. What I have found does not work well is what that coach was doing to me, which was making a lot of assumptions, assuming I want their content, assuming I want to hear about their done for you coaching program, assuming I want to get on the phone for a sales pitch, and just hitting me with calendar links, right? So many people are doing that because they think they have to, or that's the only way that you can sell. And the reality is, what I found was, and what works far better, is the approaches I learned from places like Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Les Giblin's book, How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People. Notice the key phrase in both those book titles, people. One of the great lines in Dale Carnegie's book is, your ability to handle people is what makes you rich. Your ability to handle people and talk to people and build rapport and relationships is what makes you rich. It's how you sell your products and services. It's how you get promoted. It's how you convince people to come work with you. It's how you get investors. It's how you get your parents to let you borrow the car when you're a teenager, right? Your ability to handle people, how to talk to them, all of that. So what I learned in those books from Carnegie and Les Giblin and others, and what really resonated and felt authentic and genuine to me, was really understanding this permission-based approach, really starting with a line that I built my whole business on from How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is this. Dale Carnegie wrote this back in 1936. Your ideal client, your ideal customer does not care about you. Right? They do not care. They do not care about you. They do not care about me. They only care about themselves, morning, noon, and after supper. And what I found was, when I really digested that truth and was like, okay, I've got to stop making everything I'm doing on LinkedIn and my marketing and my email and my sales calls, instead of making it all about me, make it all about you, like all about the prospect. What do they care about? And so the way this showed up, and the way that it's kind of sprinkled through all of my marketing. And again, you can get all of this, the whole system, in one place in my book, LinkedIn Riches, like the whole detailed outline, blueprint, strategies, frameworks from, A to Z, with how to set up a LinkedIn profile to how to close calls. Like, I actually have my whole sales call framework in the book. You can get the whole book for free. LinkedInriches.com, just click on free, or NemoMediaGroup.com, click on free. I give the whole thing away, right? So basically what I discovered was this principle of starting with what the other person cares about. So with my LinkedIn profile, as an example, I changed my LinkedIn headline on my LinkedIn profile page from CEO Nemo Media Group to, done for you LinkedIn lead generation for small business owners, coaches, and consultants. Right. So instead of having a profile title that was my job title, my company name, all about me, I made it about two simple things: the service I provide and the target audience. So again, take that template right away. What's the service you provide and who's it for? Pick a couple of niche audiences for LinkedIn. For your LinkedIn marketing, the riches are in the niches. Pick 2 or 3 target audiences. So for me, the service I provide here today through Nemo Media Group is done for you, right? LinkedIn lead generation. That's the service. So part 1 of my LinkedIn headline says, done for you LinkedIn lead generation. And then the second part says for, and then I put in 3 target audiences: small business owners, consultants, and business coaches. Now, the truth is, we can do it for tons, and we do it for tons of different B2B clients, every imaginable vertical and niche on LinkedIn. We work with anyone and everyone, but when I'm doing my outbound marketing on LinkedIn and I'm, promoting different content, I'm niching it to a few audiences, because again, they want to feel that connection of, oh, he's all about me. He's all about helping people just like me. So that's one of the key things I learned right away. And the second thing is then when I'm approaching prospects on LinkedIn, understanding I've got to ask permission. So again, back in the old days, before I knew better, when I thought I had to follow the gurus, I would be that guy sending the pushy, spammy LinkedIn DM of, hey, we help companies like yours generate leads on LinkedIn. Let's schedule a time to explore your needs, blah, blah, blah. Here's my calendar link. Or, hey, I wrote this book on LinkedIn lead generation. I'm sure you want a copy. Here it is. Right? Like just assuming they wanted it. And of course that backfired. It didn't work. And what I realized was, yeah, you wouldn't walk up to someone's house or walk up face to face to them in real life and go, hey, my name is John. I'm sure you want this and this and this. Now let's walk over here and I want you to spend the next 30 minutes listening to me pitch you, right? You wouldn't do that in real life. You'd say, hi, how are you? My name is John. What's your name? Okay. What do you do for a living? This. Okay. Well, are you ever looking for any tips on how to do that better? Well, sure. Okay. Well, cool. If it's okay, I've got a book here that I actually wrote that helps people exactly, like you do that exact thing. Would you like a free copy? No worries if not. And people will be like, sure. And that's literally what I do on LinkedIn is I reach out one-on-one to a prospect and I say, hey, would you like my best tips on how to generate more leads on LinkedIn? Or, hey, would you be interested in a free copy of my book, LinkedIn Lead Generation for Business Coaches? And I'll literally ask permission with just one sentence on LinkedIn. And what happens is people then can self-select and they can qualify. And you're honoring that age-old social principle of don't shove stuff on me. Don't push stuff on me. Ask my permission. Ask me if I even want it. Honor me, right? Everybody has a sign over their head that is invisible unless you're looking that says, make me feel important. That's one of the great lessons I learned from Les Giblin was pretend everyone you meet has a sign over their head, a neon sign blinking that says, make me feel important. You need to, everyone wants to feel important, validated, seen, heard, affirmed, all those things. And if you're trying to get something out of that person, you can't just start with what you want, right? You have to start with making them feel important. Hey, I'm sure, it looks like, according to what I can see, you're a successful business owner. Congratulations, right? Some sort of sincere appreciation. I'm just curious, do you ever use LinkedIn for lead generation? If so, happy to share my best tips. Something like that, right? So I've simplified it now just to one sentence where, again, I'll reach out to 100 small business owners on LinkedIn with a one-on-one message, asking permission and then offering value. That's the other piece of this that, this coach who just hit reply to me instantly was like, send them my materials and, book a sales call. And I was like, well, why would I even want your materials? Right? What's in it for me? Why would I even care? Why do I want your book? Why do I want your marketing stuff? So you've got to ask permission and qualify and explain the value. So if that coach had written back to me and said, hey, name of assistant, please send John my best tips on blank, at least I could then say, oh, well, yeah, I'd like more tips on that. Like, for instance, if you're, but again, instead, it'd be better to ask permission. So just to say, would you like my best free tips on blank? And then blank being a key pain point, a key struggle, a key challenge that this most people in this audience have. So for example, if I'm approaching small business owners, consultants, or business coaches on LinkedIn, I know a pretty universal pain point for all of them is lead generation, getting enough leads, getting enough clients, having a steady pipeline, not just living off referrals, right? So again, that's something I lead with. Would you like my best tips on how to have a predictable pipeline of leads from LinkedIn? Would you like my best tips on how to wake up knowing where your next client will be coming from? Would you like my best, a book I wrote literally that says LinkedIn lead generation for business coaches and consultants? Like I literally wrote a book called that. So if you make it that specific and that value packed and ask permission, you get a lot of people responding to you saying yes, raising their hand. What that now does is it qualifies them. So someone says, yeah, sure, send me the free tips or send me the free book. Now you let your content do the heavy lifting. If you create a really good ebook, a really good, piece of free content, it should do two things. One is it should tell your story. It should help the reader get to know, like, and trust you. So who are you? Where did you come from? Why do you do what you do? What's your passion? Can they trust you? Have you been through any obstacles, right? Like they want to know that you're relatable, right? Just like a good story or a good movie, people have to get to know the main character to care. Like if movies didn't spend time and stories didn't spend time developing the characters, you wouldn't care about the outcome. Think about your favorite stories and your favorite movies. You're rooting for the character. You're rooting for the hero because you've shared time with them. You relate to them. You've seen their struggles. You've seen their journey. You feel like they're a good person. They have similar values to you. Your content needs to do the same thing. It needs to share enough of who you are as a person and your passions so that people can find you relatable. And then the other part of it, part two of the content is you actually have to demonstrate value, demonstrate expertise. So you do need to show people the best ways to get clients from LinkedIn. You do need to share your best strategies, frameworks, insights, and ideas. If you do all that through this really good on-demand content, people on their own time, without you having to do it one at a time, face-to-face, can qualify themselves. They can learn all about you. They can dive deep into your world. They can consume this content. Then you can follow up with them because you've already got context for a conversation of, hey, I know it's been a couple days. Did you have a chance to check out the ebook I sent over? Yeah, I really enjoyed it. What did you find helpful? I really like the part about blank. That's something I'm struggling with. Great. Well, I actually help a lot of business owners in that exact area. Would it make sense for us to maybe just, hop on a quick call and talk more about your specific issue around it, see if I can help you or have any ideas? Yeah, sure. Okay. Book a call. Now you've got a call with a qualified lead who is interested in your topic and who's already kind of pre-sold because they know you, they know your story, they've seen your frameworks, they see your strategies, it resonated, they like it. And oh, by the way, because you targeted them on LinkedIn and built a list with LinkedIn search, they fit your criteria for an ideal buyer. You're not guessing, because if you're using LinkedIn the right way on the front end, you're building lists of your exact ideal prospect with job title, type of business, how many employees, revenue, industry type, how many years they've been in the role. So you're not wasting time reaching out one-on-one to random people. The other thing about this approach, this permission-based approach that really works well, is people can say no. They can say, no, not interested, or I'm retired, or don't need it, or I already have a company for that. Great. You just saved yourself all this time. Think about the flip side of this with all the people that are just like, I'll get on a meeting with you immediately, right? Like, here's my calendar. Let's talk. If you do that before qualifying people, you're just wasting your time. I think about a funny example of a commercial cleaning company that did this to me. They reached out to me on LinkedIn and also on email. Hey, because they found my name somewhere. They saw Nemo Media Group, company name, Minneapolis, Minnesota, company owner, contact information, John Nemo. They literally email and DM me a message saying, hey, we see you're the owner of Nemo Media Group. We help companies with commercial cleaning. We'd love to set up a 30-minute call to evaluate your commercial cleaning needs, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to write back and say, well, if you ask me any questions, you'd know I work from home and I don't have a commercial facility. I don't have an office building. Nobody's here except me and my family and Rosie the dog in my recliner. So if you want to come vacuum my little side office at the house, I guess we can, just ridiculous. I would be wasting 30 minutes of that salesperson's time because they just randomly gave me permission to book on their calendar. They did no qualifying. They have no idea who I am, if I can afford them, if I have an urgent need or anything. And that's the reason you don't want to do that. You don't want to lead with, here's my calendar, because you don't know if the other person's qualified. The number one most valuable asset you have is your time. You cannot get your time back every day. So if you're giving your time away to unqualified tire kickers just because they'll book a call without a lot of qualifying, you're really not only wasting your own time, but you're demoralizing yourself. There's nothing worse than spending all that time or getting on a live call and realizing, oh man, there's no opportunity here. This person's broke. They're just picking my brain for free. This is now a free consulting call. What a waste of time. And then you hang up and go to another one. And you just feel like I'm failing and this is a waste of time. And again, it is, because you're not protecting your mindset. You're not taking control of the frame. So if you think about a frame, when we're doing a call, you want to have the authority and the leverage. So that's why you want to qualify people before you give up your most valuable asset on earth, which is your time. So that's why you want to start with the free content. So I've even been burned this way with inbound leads, where I've had people fill out a form on our website or email me and say, I'm interested in your done for you services. Can we book a time to talk? And I used to immediately jump on it. Yep, absolutely. Of course. I'm not going to turn down an opportunity. I, immediately book a call, get on with them, and realize they're not qualified. They're a tire kicker. They're broke. They're not a fit for us. And it was just demoralizing because I was like, why did I do that? Just because someone said they wanted to talk to me, I dropped everything and took 30 minutes or an hour of my day to talk to them without knowing, are they qualified? Are they a lead? So it takes discipline, especially if you're in a season of scarcity in your business where you're like, I just need leads. I just need calls. I just need closed deals. It can feel that way, and it can feel productive to have a bunch of calls booked. But if they're really low quality, tire kicker bad leads, you're not going to close any deals, or you're going to add a bunch of really bad clients because, as everyone knows, you win or lose based on client selection, and the lowest paying clients who have the least amount of trust in you cause the most headaches. Whereas if you can have that authority mindset, that authority frame, and say, hey, you know what? Really flattered you want to hop on a call with us. Super excited to hear you're interested in our services. What I want to do to save you time, because again, make them feel important, put it about what they care about. In order to save you time, I don't want to waste your time on a call if we can't help you. So what I'd love to do prior to booking a call is just share a quick walkthrough video with you that'll explain how our process works. And, here's some other quick things. Or you can say, hey, actually, to save you time, to make sure we can be helpful, if you can just fill out this quick online form to tell us a little bit more about your current situation, your budget, whatever, that way I can, come into a call prepared with some personalized ideas for you, right? So those are just little kind of, not roadblocks, but like little hoops you want to set up to see if a prospect is serious. Because if they won't fill out a short form, or they won't watch a quick little video, maybe they're not a good fit for you, right? Maybe they're not going to be a client that takes your advice, right? And again, it's positioning you as the expert. If you think about the biggest brands, look at consultants or coaches or others, other than the guy who's apparently emailing me his calendar, which is shocking. I'm sure he has a sales team, but they won't just give you their calendar. Like, you can't just say to Tony Robbins, hey, Tony, I'm interested in coaching. Can we book a call? Right? There's no way you can get that guy on a live call. You've got to go through filters. You got to go through hoops, because he's built a brand that has authority and leverage. Now, if you can do the same thing in terms of, hey, before we hop on a call, I want to make sure I would be the right person to help you. Have a look at this free content. This will give you a great idea of what we do for people just like you. If that resonates, if that's like, yeah, you're nodding your head, that's what I'm looking for, then great, we can talk more. And that's what I do. And typically, if someone does that and goes through that free content, that walkthrough video, they go, yeah, wow, that's great. That's a lot different than, the other agencies I've been looking at. That's a lot. I really resonate with that approach. I like the permission-based, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's next? Can we have a call? And I'll say, hey, that's great. I'm glad it resonated. So, we can definitely look at booking a call. Before we do that, I want to learn more about you to make sure you'd be a fit for us and that we could help you. So if you can just fill out this quick form, that will give me a better idea. Again, I want to protect your time and your schedule. I don't want to waste your time if at the end of the day, we spend an hour and I realize I can't help you. Again, they fill that out. I can get the key things in place to know, after doing hundreds of sales calls that failed, what do I need to know prior to this call to decide if it's worth getting on the phone with this person? What's their budget? What's their pain point? What's their urgency level? Are they just agency shopping? Are they this? Are they that? When you do all that, you get far fewer calls booked, but you get such good quality leads, right? And it's so much easier to close a deal. And so again, all of this rant just started because it just drives me crazy when people market this way on LinkedIn or with DMs or with emails. And it's like, I've also had another thing, so please don't do this, where people take your email and just put you on their automated drip campaigns or their email blast lists without permission. Like, you didn't ask, right? I've literally had like realtors in New Zealand put me on their property listings because we connected on LinkedIn and they scraped my email. I'm like, dude, I live in Minnesota. I'm not looking for a house in New Zealand, right? Like, it's just ridiculousness, and it doesn't work. And again, I think the majority of people are well-intended and well-meaning, just like I was in 2012 when I went out on my own. You don't know what you don't know. You're trying to follow the experts, and the experts speak with such confidence and certainty. You think, well, even though it feels sleazy or weird and not me, I guess I have to do it that way. And then you end up doing marketing and lead generation and sales that feels gross. It doesn't feel authentic, and you get bad clients because it's not authentic. It's not your real brand. As opposed to when you can find your lane, when you can find what feels authentic and comfortable to you and market that way. And that doesn't mean you are super passive and just hope people hire you. Absolutely not. Like, you still need to be, on the ball and persistent and not aggressive, but not in a bad way. You need to be on it, right? And capture people's attention and get their interest. But what you want to do is do it in a way where you're asking permission and offering value first, letting them raise their hand, letting them qualify themselves, and then framing it in a way of, hey, before we get into a big conversation, I want to protect your time. I want to protect your calendar. Let's see if we think we can help you, rather than get on the phone and talk for an hour. If you can just fill out this short form, I can get back to you with an honest assessment of, hey, it's worth talking more. I think I can help you. Or no, like, hey, you know what? We're not going to be right for you. Here's a suggestion. What you'll find is some people will be like, no, I just want to talk, forget it. And you're like, okay, they're inevitably the people that just want to tire kick and pick your brain and aren't serious. Most people that are good prospects would be like, yeah, sure. Thanks for looking out for me and saving me time. And I really do want to learn more about your process. I'm happy to share more, because again, the idea of framing your pre-call form that way is putting it on the other person of, I want to learn more about you, right? I want to make you feel important. Like, tell me about your business. Tell me about your challenges. Tell me about your goals. Like, that way I can take a deeper look and say, hey, yeah, okay, that resonates with what we do. Let's talk more. So there you go. Rant complete. Hope you found that helpful. Again, if you want all my best tips on all this stuff, the best place to go is linkedinriches.com and click on the free button, or nemomediagroup.com, click on the free button. It's also in the show notes. It should say like a link to free books, free resources. Get the book LinkedIn Riches. You can get it for free. The audio book or the PDF or the Kindle file, I lay this whole thing out in there, word for word, strategy for strategy, script for script, because I'm passionate about it. I want you to feel comfortable, and I want to attract clients as well that work with us that are like, yes, I like this approach. Value first, permission based, because none of us, at least, okay, I don't like being marketed to the way I was today. And I don't think you do either. And I want you, if nothing else on this episode, to hear you don't have to do it that way. So thanks so much. Appreciate you. And we'll see you soon on another episode.